Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here, and it is official. The Washington Commanders announced that Carson Wentz will be the starting quarterback this week against the Cleveland Browns when the Commanders are fighting for their lives trying to make the playoffs. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. About 80 subscribers away from 10,000 subscribers. Trying to hit that by the end of the year. It's free. It takes 1 second. Just hit that subscribe button. It would really mean a ton. Also hit that like button and that notification bell. So yesterday, Ron Rivera said a decision will be made by today, and he was right. And they announced that Carson Wentz will be the starting quarterback for against the Cleveland Browns this Sunday, 1 p.m. A big game. I mean, it's a must-win. You got to win that game, and they just got to do what they can. Control what they can control, and that is win the next two games. You win the next two games, you're in. The Commanders are the 7th seed right now in the NFL, or in the NFC. So if they win their next two games, they're guaranteed in. I went into it a little bit more detail yesterday in my video, so if you guys want to watch that, go ahead. But there's a scenario where they can clinch this week, and that's if Commanders win. Obviously, that's number one. The Packers lose or tie, which is very doable. They play the Minnesota Vikings. I think there's a shot that happens. The Seahawks have to lose. They're playing the New York Jets. I think that probably will happen. And then the Lions need to lose to the Bears. That's going to be the toughest one, in my opinion. And obviously, Commanders got to win against the Browns. And the Browns are not a great team. Yes, they do have Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, Myles Garrett, but they haven't been able to put it together. They even since Deshaun Watson's come back, they've lost games. They barely beat the Texans. Like, it hasn't looked been pretty for them. It's going to be at home. Like, there's no excuse for the Commanders, to not win this game. The Browns are eliminated from playoff contention. They don't really have anything to play for besides pride. Commanders have everything to play for. And Carson Wentz starting, this is not unexpected. This is what I thought would happen, and this is what I thought should happen. Talked about it in my video earlier this week, talking about the decision, what they would do and what I think they should do. And I like this decision. I love what Taylor Heinicke's done for us these last 2 years, coming in as a backup and just performing at a really high level for a backup. He's not anything more than that, than maybe a very low tier starter. But he's an elite backup. He's a great locker room guy. And, he came in, did what he needed to do, and a little bit more, helped this team get to a position where, they were in a very good spot to make the playoffs. But the last few weeks, he and some of the other players in the team didn't perform that well. And now they have 2 games left, and they got to win the last 2 to get in. Or, they don't have to win the last 2, but very likely they will have to win the next 2 to get in, or they'll just need help. And 8-1 doesn't sound as good as 9-7-1, where you're a decent amount above 500. But yeah, Taylor Heinicke, since he took over, yes, the team played better, but offense was not good. Besides maybe 1 or 2 games during his 8-game stretch here, maybe a little bit more, the offense was just not good. It was not good. And, when they were winning, a lot of the times it wasn't necessarily just because of him. It was more the defense or Brian Robinson carrying us to a win. And Heinicke just wasn't doing enough, and sometimes was contributing to our losses. He did have a good game against Philly. He was a key contributor in that win against the Eagles. But besides that, he honestly didn't really have that many good games. A lot of the games were ugly. He had a turnover in every game except for the Texans game, and then he would have like a touchdown or so. But moving on from Heinicke now, Wentz will be the starter, and Wentz was not perfect as well, obviously. He didn't come, once he was healthy, he wasn't the starter for a reason, because they thought Heinicke was better, and also because Heinicke was on a hot stretch. The team was on a hot stretch. But when Wentz is a starter, Brian Robinson wasn't there besides the Titans game and the Bears game. But the Bears game, I don't really count that in terms of Wentz's resume, because he was playing with a broken finger the whole game, or a fractured finger. So that doesn't really count. But first 5 games, Cameron Curl's out for the first 2, which really hurt the defense. And William Jackson III was still playing. And once he left, the defense really turned it around. And the defense has played so much better for Heinicke than it has for Wentz, which I also think has contributed to the record of the 2 starters. And Wentz, it was a small sample size as well. First 2 games, I thought he played played well. The first game, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and like 300 plus yards. Next game, not as good, but was solid, honestly. And then week 3 and week 4 were awful. Week 5, I thought against the Titans, I honestly thought he played pretty well. Besides that last interception, which honestly wasn't really his fault. Like, he had to throw it. No one was open. And that was because Ron Rivera mismanaged the clock and, wasted a challenge and, lost us a timeout. So I think, once we'll see. It was a small sample size. Last week against the 49ers, played all right, or played pretty well, but it's in kind of garbage time, and, it was a lot of underneath stuff that he was throwing, but he did have a really nice throw to Curtis Samuel, and they were blitzing him. He avoided the pressure, stepped up in the pocket, and did a little flip pass to Jonathan Williams. So he played well. Let's see what he can do against the Browns. We don't need him to be amazing. The Browns aren't a great team. Run the football, and when you need to, pass it. Give it to Jahan or Terry or Curtis Samuel if you want to. I'm interested to see how, Terry's stats look with Carson Wentz now, because when Carson was the starter, Terry's stats were not very good because Carson really wasn't throwing it to him, but he was throwing to Jahan a lot. So that will be interesting to see what Jahan's stats will look like in these final 2 games. But Commanders, control what they can control. Win these next 2 games. I think this is the right decision. You need a spark. Maybe Wentz's floor is a little bit lower than Heineke's, but his ceiling's much higher. We saw what this offense could be with Wentz in those first 2 games. And we also saw what it could be in his bad games where the offensive line isn't blocking well. He can't really move. He's a statue. And they get sacked 9 times. And that's what happened against the Eagles. So offensive line also has to be better as well. Wes Schweitzer, those snaps got to be better. So yeah. That's kind of it for today's video. Probably no more videos today. And, tomorrow we'll have something else, maybe a injury update or a preview. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.